elementary friends. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's a new month, March, and in March is spring. And next Sunday, the 9th, is Spring Forward the Clocks Day. So as a treat to you, you get to roll out of bed and come to church in your PJs. Hopefully that makes the day a little more fun and you don't have to worry about losing that 1 hour of sleep. But with our new month also comes a new big idea. It's all about cooperation, which is working together to do more than you can do alone. Before we get to worship, let's see what it means to live cooperation loud.
Sometimes it is easy to go it alone, but when do you need a helping hand? Jumping rope. Now, you can totally do by yourself, but playing tug of war? Not so much. Organizing your room? You can do that on your own, even if you don't want to. Building a new bookshelf, on the other hand, can I get a little help, please? Practicing an instrument? Absolutely, can do. All on your own. Playing musical chairs alone? No. See, some things are better done with a partner or a team. We call that cooperation. When we work together, we can do amazing things that we couldn't do on our own. It's like being on one big team where everyone is important. God made us to cooperate because God knows that we're better together. Whether it's helping a friend with homework, sharing school supplies, or encouraging a friend who's sad. When we share ideas and work as a team, we're living out God's plan. We can show the world what it looks like to love like Jesus, and as we work together to do more than we could alone, others can see God. That's why cooperation is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud, it's all about living loud.
be or not to be? That is the question. All the world's a stage, the men and women merely players.
We got it, Shakespeare. Welcome to Story Lab. This week we're taking a look at the story of some people who came together for something way bigger than an act.
What a piece of work is man!
Hey, I'm Carter.
And I'm Skylar.
We're talking about the way God created us to work with others.
And the things we can do better together. Like...
Put on a dramatic theatrical production.
Okay, you're being kinda extra, but the dry ice effects are pretty cool.
Right?
Dry ice is frozen carbon dioxide. Hot water causes it to sublimate or change directly from a solid to a gas. The resulting fog is a mix of carbon dioxide gas and cold, humid air.
The stage is set. We just need to recruit a few more cast and crew for our epic theatrical event.
It's just me and you today, pal.
Are you trying to upstage me?
I was just going to suggest maybe making some epic fog bubbles instead.
To pop or not to pop? That is the question. Let's make it!
Okay, the first thing you need for your epic fog bubbles is dry ice. Now, dry ice is actually negative 109.3 degrees Fahrenheit. So always use thick gloves and make sure you have a grown-up to help you. Okay, you will also need a 2-liter bottle filled with warm water and the very top part cut off. You'll need a small funnel, plastic tubing, a cup or beaker, bubble soap solution, and a tray coated with a little more soap and water.
Okay, Maestro, how do we do this?
Step 1. Mix equal parts soap solution with water in the cup or beaker. Step 2. Fit the funnel into one end of the tubing.
The stage is set.
Exactly. Step 3. Drop the dry ice into the 2-liter bottle and add water.
Don't forget your glove.
All right. Step 4. Dip the free end of the tubing into the soap solution and place the funnel end over the top of the 2-liter bottle.
Whoa! Ooh, can I pop it?
Yeah, be my guest. Now let's use the big one.
Whoa! See that? That's crazy!
It's like cloudy.
Whoa!
Look at the smoke coming through.
Look how big they're getting.
It's like the carbon dioxide and the cold, humid air are teaming up with the soap solution to create these special effects for us.
Now that's some cooperation I can get behind.
Speaking of which, it's time for...
The story before the story.
Today, we're in the book of Luke. Luke wanted to clearly record the story of Jesus.
From the very beginning, when people turned away, God had a plan to rescue us.
At the perfect time, God sent Jesus, God's very own son, to live among us as a human.
Jesus was born and grew up like an ordinary kid.
He became wiser and stronger and more pleasing to God and others.
When Jesus was about 30, he was baptized by his cousin John.
God's voice spoke from heaven saying, "You are my son, and I love you. I am very pleased with you."
Soon after this, Jesus began traveling and teaching and gathering followers.
Which is where our story starts.
Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian. When Jesus started to travel and teach and heal people, he could have done it completely on his own. I mean, after all, he's God's son, right? But instead, Jesus chose to work with a group of ordinary, everyday people we know as the disciples.
Come and follow me.
Jesus expected his disciples to spend their time with him, to become more like him, and together to do the work that he did. It would have been easy to choose people who were all alike and could get along with no problem, but that's not what Jesus did. One day, Jesus went up on a mountain to pray. In fact, he spent the entire night talking with God. And when morning came, Jesus called the crowd who had been following him and chose 12 men to be his disciples.
Simon Peter and Andrew, James and John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, Judas, son of James, Judas Iscariot.
Let's zoom in now and take a look at some of these guys. First off, we've got Simon Peter, and Andrew, and James, and John. All four of them were fishermen. Fishermen at this time were hard workers, but often gruff and rugged, not the kind of person you would want maybe at a dinner party. Plus, they were two sets of brothers. I mean, do you always get along with your siblings? Yeah, didn't think so.
Hey, quit shoving! You're in my way!
Jesus knew exactly what these men were like, but he borrowed Peter's boat to teach from, and then instructed Peter to throw out his nets in the same place he'd caught nothing all night. The men caught so many fish, they almost sunk the boats.
Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man.
Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people.
If these fishermen were kind of rough around the edges, Matthew was the opposite. Matthew was a tax collector who worked for the Romans. He was in charge of taking money from the Jewish people to give to their enemies, and he probably took extra for himself. No one liked tax collectors, so it would have been shocking when Jesus walked right up to Matthew.
Follow me.
Jesus even went to dinner at Matthew's house. While Matthew worked for the Romans, one of the other men who Jesus called hated the Romans. Simon was likely part of a group called the Zealots. Now, the Zealots were revolutionaries who wanted to overthrow the Romans using violence. They believed the Messiah would help them do that. Rough fisherman, an upper-class tax collector, a fiery revolutionary? Imagine including all of these different people in a group project together. We don't know a lot of details about the other disciples, but you can bet they had their own quirks. Jesus even included a man he knew would end up betraying him, Judas Iscariot. And it wasn't only men who followed Jesus. Women traveled with and learned from him too. There was Mary Magdalene. She had been controlled by spirits who weren't from God, and Jesus healed her completely. A woman named Joanna followed Jesus too. She was married to the man who was in charge of the king's household. Other women learned from Jesus, including one named Susanna. Now, not only did these women spend time with Jesus, but they also gave their own money to support Jesus and the disciples. And Jesus welcomed their help. Women and men, people from all different backgrounds, people who would never have talked to each other on the street, Jesus invited them all to join him. Jesus knew that the more time these people spent with him, the more they would become like him, and the more they could lay aside their differences to work together. The end.
It's so easy to think of the disciples as just some guys in Bible robes.
But the true story is so much more.
Yeah, Jesus was laying a foundation for all of his followers to work together.
Including us?
So, what's our part in the story?
Jesus invited a group of people who were totally different from each other to follow him and help spread the news of God's kingdom. Following Jesus meant they had to learn how to cooperate.
And cooperation is working together to do more than you can do alone.
I mean, let's be real, there are times it may seem easier just to do something yourself.
Yeah, like when my mom tells my sister and me to do the dishes together, we usually end up fighting.
Or sometimes I just feel like I know the best way to do something.
You might be great at doing something on your own, but God designed us to work together. We're created to need other people. Cooperating with others, even if it feels hard, will help you grow to become more like Jesus.
And when we can look past our differences, we can definitely do more together.
Like putting on a play or a choir concert.
Or planning a surprise from the whole class for your teacher on her birthday.
Or even just working with your family to get the house cleaned up before company comes over.
If you don't feel like cooperating all the time, that's okay. You can ask God to give you peace and patience to work together.
Yeah, and sometimes cooperation can actually be a lot of fun.
It's been a blast cooperating with you guys.
Right back at you. See you next time.
So, here's the thing. Jesus wants us to work together.
Whether you're acting out a story,
Helping plant a community garden,
cleaning up the kitchen after dinner,
or doing an awesome science experiment.
ooh, can we make an ultra super giant bubble this time?
Let's find out. Thanks for joining us in the Story Lab.
See you next time. How big do you think it's gonna get?
I don't know, it probably can go even bigger.
Whoa.
Thanks so much for joining us, friends. We'll see you right back here next week for more fun.